Collins with Team Fury. Bernardo Osuna with the latest with Deontay Wilder.
Welcome to Vegas, Joe. And after that controversial draw in December of 2018, both Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury understand that the only definitive way to win this fight is by knockout. And when Deontay Wilder heard that Tyson Fury was going to go look for the knockout, well, that was music to his ears.
And that's what people mostly know me as, that great knockout artist, or that one punch man that they call me nowadays. And I embrace it. I accept it because that's who I am. When people come to see heavyweight fights, especially title fights or whatever, they come to see the knockouts. They're not coming to see a 12-round fight. They come to see knockouts, and that's what I deliver for them each and every time.
He calls himself the king of the knockouts. 95% of his opponents have gone down before the final bell, and his two rematch opponents, Ortiz and Severn, have also been knockout victims. He's looking to make Tyson Fury number 3. Speaking of Tyson Fury, our own Antonieta Collins is with the Tyson Fury camp.
Bernie, in front of 300 fans, the first thing Tyson Fury was asked at his grand arrival was if he had changed his prediction of knocking out Wilder in the second round. He adamantly doubled down. Many had thought of this to be arrogance, but earlier today on Max Unboxing, Tyson Fury explained to Max Kellerman his logic.
And at some time or another, he's going to land the right hand on me. And when he does, it could be over. So, I want to take him out nice and quick, do plenty of damage on him in the first round, and then pick up where I left off in the first in round 2, jump on him, put him down a couple of times and make him quit.
And test with that mindset. Fury knows that he has to be strong and there's no room for error as soon as that first bell rings.
Ball knocked out of his hands and stolen by Butler. Butler a drive, layup, good, and a foul. Jared Butler the steal, and he'll have a chance at a three-point play.
That's what it sounded like on Learfield. IMG College's top-ranked Baylor beats Oklahoma 65-54. Yeah, you heard that right. Hell of a year.
Yes, Scott Drew, let's go.
Baylor wins their 23rd straight game, breaking the Big 12 record set by Kansas back in '96. A team led by Paul Pierce and Rafe LaFrentz.
Yeah.
Who was, I found out, the third overall pick in the '98 NBA draft.
Boy, your line of demarcation when Rafe who? Rafe LaFrentz, man. Come on.
Baylor also became the third team to start 13-0 in Big 12 play, joining 2009-2010 Kansas and 2001-2002 Kansas. You see the pattern here. Baylor's locked down its opponents, allowing just 58.2 points per game. That's on pace to be the fewest in a season in Big 12 history. You can catch the Baylor Bears Saturday on ESPN versus number 3 Kansas. On to the NBA, the Cavaliers are promoting associate head coach J.B. Bickerstaff to become the full-time coach, and he'll run his first practice on Wednesday evening, league sources tell our own Adrian Wojnarowski. John Beilein is expected to say goodbye to his staff and players in the late afternoon on Wednesday upon the players and the coaches returning from the All-Star break. League sources told our own Adrian Wojnarowski. Again, John Beilein, the Cavs head coach, stepping down. The Cavs, 14-40, have the second worst win percentage in the league, ahead of only the Golden State Warriors. And in honor of Black History Month, let's take a look at what Charles Barkley did on this day in '96. As a member of the Phoenix Suns, the Hall of Famer pulled down his 10,000th career rebound in the first quarter of the Suns' 98-94 overtime win against Vancouver, becoming the 10th NBA player with 20,000 points and 10,000 rebounds in a career. And that is SportsCenter, brought to you by Nature Valley. The satisfying crunch of Nature Valley Crunchy Bars can keep your family going, which means more outside fun for you. And with whole grain oats and real delicious honey, it's really tasty too. Nature Valley Oats and Honey Crunchy Bars.
The idea of asking for a piece of metal back seems a futile act.
For him to devalue it just tells me how out of touch he is. At this point, the only thing devaluing that trophy is that it says commissioner on it.
Hey, glad you would. So I don't know if you've heard, there's some people that are angry about what the Astros did.
Big mad.
I don't know. Might have mentioned it a couple of times.
Trey, while you were gone,
yeah,
some things happened and things were said.
Yeah.
And ultimately, we have an interesting situation brewing right now that you don't often see, which is an entire sport really taking a torch not only to one team, but to the commissioner of the sport.
Listen, I find it amazing that everybody, for the most part, that talks about this in defense of either what the Astros did or the punishment for the Astros, if you believe there was any punishment when it comes to the players. It's a textbook case of how to throw an accelerant on an already raging bonfire, right? Jim Crane, the owner of the Astros, within seconds of himself, it didn't impact the game. I didn't say it didn't impact the game. Butted together from the same press conference. Dude, stop talking. It's just a word salad at this point for you. And then Commissioner Rob Manfred, who, by the way, trying to defend the way he handled out the discipline for the Houston Astros, specifically the lack of it in terms of the players and what was really done to the organizations, had this to say about the idea of somehow taking away the 2017 World Series championship.
The idea of, an asterisk or asking for a piece of metal back seems, sort of a futile act. People always know that there was something about the 2017 World Series that was different, and they're going to know that. We undertook a really thorough investigation, and we had the intestinal fortitude to put out there the facts we found, even though they weren't very pretty.
Okay, so let's stop right there for a minute. When he says we had the intestinal fortitude to put out the facts we found out, even though it wasn't pretty, that's not intestinal fortitude. That's the baseline of your job. Okay, so we're not going to congratulate you for doing the thing you're supposed to do when you investigate something like this. Literally sharing with people what you found is the least you could do.
The very least.
The very least, the lowest bar you have to cross when you open an investigation into whether or not a team blatantly cheated is to share the results of the investigation. That is literally the lowest hurdle you can climb. So I don't want to hear intestinal fortitude about doing the bare minimum of what you did with the investigation.
And really what this happens, as you mentioned, this is a fire the commissioner started, because one of the things that he said that always was interesting to me was we decided to put the information out there and let other people make their judgments about this team. That was how he justified not with taking back that 2017 World Series trophy. He said, we're going to let the public, we're going to let fans decide this, because that judgment means more than anything else. So you opened it up quite literally to the court of public opinion,
correct,
being the judge and jury, and they found you guilty. They turned around and looked at you and said, no. You're the guy that let all this happen because you failed to curb that behavior in the way that we always talk about with something like throwing at a guy, like players throwing at other players. When you fail to properly curb the behavior with punishment, you end up with situations like this.
Right. So the idea that wasn't even the worst part of that line from Rob Manfred is absolutely incredible, because then he went on to refer to the World Series trophy as something that would be claimed at a junkyard at Sanford & Son. It's a piece of metal. And let's just say Justin Turner of the Dodgers, among others, took umbrage with that part of it.
For him to devalue it the way he did yesterday is just tells me how out of touch he is with the players in this game. And, at this point, the only thing devaluing that trophy is that it says commissioner on it.
Bang! Mic drop moment from Justin Turner. So now what we have is Rob Manfred, the commissioner of Major League Baseball, doing his best Olympic backstroke, trying to talk himself out of something that he has talked himself into. Here he is trying to clean up the remarks about the piece of metal.
In an effort to make a rhetorical point, I referred to the World Series trophy in a disrespectful way, and I want to apologize for that. There's no excuse for it. I made a mistake. I was trying to make a point, but I should have made it in a more effective way. And again, I want to apologize for it.
And all of this is Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. First of all, he did the right thing by apologizing. Let's be clear about that.
He did, but this is like in the cartoon when they're trying to put out the raging fire with the water that comes out of the flower that's on the clown's chest.
Yes.
Like, we're trying to put this out by spraying over in these small parts. Like, you know what's at the heart of this. This apology doesn't change that.
No, it doesn't. And you can say whatever you want about Roger Goodell, the NFL commissioner, and he takes a lot of slings and arrows.
I was going to say, and plenty of people do. Like, this is very akin to what players and people around the NFL often throw at Roger.
I can guarantee you that Roger Goodell, in any situation, would never offhandedly refer to the Lombardi Trophy as that silver thing. Come on, man. Have some respect for what people are talking about here. And I understand that had he tried to, and I'm talking about Rob Manfred now, discipline the players, it would have gone through a very lengthy, ugly arbitration, battle, appeal, all that kind of stuff. And in all likelihood, he would have lost. And those players would probably have played through the suspension and probably had that suspension overturned because of the collective bargaining agreement.
Yeah,
we can all understand that, right?
Jeff Passan, if anyone's interested, did a
Yes.
great article on .com. The word is notice. Coming off that Red Sox scandal with the Apple Watch, a notice was sent to front offices basically saying you will be held, GMs, managers, you will be held responsible for your team should these things go on. We remember this is what A.J. Hinch and Jeff Luhnow did not read and tell the players. They did not read this memo to the players, and so notice is the word. And Jeff points out that in cases like this of labor issues, if you don't have that, you don't have much if you were going to try and go after the players. So they would have, as my dad said yesterday, gotten off on a technicality.
And that's fine. But I think it would have been worth the fight for Rob Manfred and Major League Baseball to try. And the reason I say that is the commissioner of the NBA, Adam Silver, decided to fire one of his bosses in Donald Sterling, the former Clippers owner, for his egregious comments. And let's be clear, commissioners are not the grand poobahs, masters of time, space, and dimension, and overall gentle wizards of their sports. They are hired by the owners, and they are fired by the owners. They don't work for both the players and the owners. They essentially work for the owners. That's the way this works. And Adam Silver saw something that was so egregious, he decided to go after one of the people that was literally his bosses, and the other owner said, you know what? We agree with you. This is the right way to do, and they found a way to work it out. And let's just say that through all the process that they would have won and all this kind of stuff, and they would have played through the suspension. You know who takes the L there then? The players and the players' union. Rob Manfred could say, hey, at least I tried to do something and I couldn't.
This is what we always say all the time in the NFL with Roger Goodell, especially when it's come to some off-the-field instances, whether it's domestic violence, assault, things like that. You punish over the top. You punish to the fullest extent of what the law will tell you you're able to do, the NFL law, that is, and then you let the union walk you back. You make sure that you came out there and levied the harshest possible punishment because right, wrong, or indifferent, that's what the court of public opinion demands.
Yes, and it just feels like they decided for a bunch of reasons just to not even go down that road. And I think that's the problem that a lot of people have with all of this.
I think, I don't know, looking at that portion of it, I still think there was a get-out-of-jail-free card for the commissioner. If you took that 2017 World Series trophy away, if you vacated it, however you want to put it, the piece of metal that was the point of all of this, the real pain point in all this thing, if you took that away, I think you could have bought a lot. Because to your point, I think what the commissioner missed on this, and what I don't think anyone realized is how easy it was going to be for everyone to come out and all go at the same group.
Right.
Like, the rest of Major League Baseball is absolutely taking a flamethrower to the Astros. And the commissioner, right after Jim Crane and company came out, was a little lukewarm in the way that he publicly condemned what had gone on there before he realized, oh, okay, we got the green light to really let these guys have it.
Yeah.
He didn't have any idea because, like, now the Aaron Judges of the world can jump on, and it's cool to rip the Astros now. Now, the Yankees
Everybody's
are maybe
doing
the
it.
closest to it, but we have reached the point now where everyone knows it's okay, so there's no real bravery in speaking out against the Astros now. Like, this isn't some novel concept anymore.
And let's be clear, there have been lengthy suspension appeals before in recent history in Major League Baseball, and the player went on to win, but you know what? That player also took the L. In 2013, Alex Rodriguez was suspended for, 211 games for the biogenesis doping scandal, and he fought it tooth and nail. It was eventually dropped to 162 games. It was ugly, and it was nasty, and it was everything that you don't want out there. But you know what? You know who that worked out worse for? In a lot of ways, it was A-Rod. It wasn't Major League Baseball for trying to enforce something. And the idea that they just decided to punt on that part of it drives me crazy.
Well, because you had a party in that, like, everyone hated A-Rod then.
Yeah.
That was, I mean, he was so universally disliked at that point because he came at everybody in that process. And that's exactly what you've got here. Like, you had a clear enemy. Again, it wouldn't be, like, difficult or brave or noteworthy to go after this Astros group. Like, they've been so clearly defined and spelled out as cheaters in this sense that it's the easiest thing in the world to take shots at them. That's why everybody's doing it. And so you miss the opportunity. Bad actors is the thing that always gets brought up. This idea of, well, you just remove the couple of bad actors from a situation and it changes. It's hardly ever true. But in this instance, you had so clearly the bad actors in this one that it was at least easy for you to do the thing, and you couldn't even manage that.
And let's just say, let's take it one step further. All right, they're not going to they're not going to suspend the players in general because it would be too hard.
Well, and also the immunity, all that stuff that came with it. Like, they needed them to an extent.
How about this? Over the last week or so, the Champions League in soccer banned Manchester City for the next 2 seasons after being found guilty of breaching financial fair play rules. So if you don't want to suspend the players, how about you ban the Astros from postseason for a year or two, because you know this went on and you know it affected play. And I don't want to hear when Jim Crane says, well, it didn't impact the game. Then why did you do it? You wouldn't be doing it if you didn't think it impacted the game in some way that was extremely beneficial to you. So you could have tried to fight the good fight. You punted on that. Or you could have taken the extraordinary step of just saying, you guys are not going to be part. You can play in the regular season, do whatever you want, but you will not be considered for postseason because of the egregious things you guys did in this cheating scandal. And you know what? He would have been applauded for it. He would have been applauded for it.
And I guess that's the thing is, even if it was toothless, ultimately you have to come out and give the impression of force.
Try.
Because I really do understand the difficulty in going after players, right?
Yes.
Like, immunity was important.
Just suspend the team then.
That's the thing is you had to find another way to attack this, and I will still go back and look on vacating that championship. As much as we talk about how hollow vacating wins are at some point, this one's different because it didn't involve someone getting a house or some player being academically ineligible. Like, you cheated on the field. And I think based on the response now, we've hit a point in this where there's nothing the commissioner does that's going to be right. Like, we've hit the point now where this is all just a burning fire that's not going to stop until it puts itself out. And really, it's only going to get put out by players in the Astros getting hit by baseballs over the course of the season. So.
And you know how bad that's coming when Dusty Baker is already lobbying the commissioner to protect the players.
Poor Dusty Baker, man.
Well, listen.
Give that guy a medal, give him a raise, give him something.
It's going to be a rough season, and we'll get into a little bit later about why it's going to be a rough season, despite what anybody says they will or won't do for the Astros in just a little bit. But all of that is Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Everything for less, only at Walmart. Much more on baseball's endless, and I mean endless, sign-stealing scandal. But first, can the Patriots' biggest superfans convince Tom Brady to return to New England? We'll get to that after What's Trending.
Get you caught up on a little bit of what's trending here on Golic and Wingo. Great news here. NASCAR driver Ryan Newman, who was involved in that horrific wreck at the end of the Daytona 500, is awake and speaking with family and doctors a day after that crash. Roush Fenway Racing released an update on its driver Tuesday, about 20 hours after Newman's car had slammed into the wall, flipped, and then gotten T-boned by another car. So great news to hear that, up, talking to doctors, talking to his family there, and we certainly continue to wish him well through all of this. Fight night this weekend coming up, and Tyson Fury says he may retire after his contract ends. Fury, who will face heavyweight champion Deontay Wilder in a rematch this weekend, says when his contract with ESPN runs out, he may consider calling it a career. Quote, "I've not got an age, but I've got 3 fights left on my contract with ESPN," Fury told ESPN's Ariel Helwani on Monday. "And after that, I will seriously think about walking away." Wilder Fury 2 will take place this Saturday on ESPN Plus pay-per-view. And always an interesting when everyone gets on the group text. You never know. Like, sometimes you get added to one you're not expected.
Yeah, and like, who's this other number?
Yeah, you got to text them outside the group. It's a whole thing. I have a feeling these guys had each other's numbers. Ben Affleck, Matt Damon both texted Tom Brady about coming back to the Patriots. Ben Affleck, who was making the rounds yesterday at our New York studio, said he and Damon both texted Brady about returning to the Patriots when he joined Get Up yesterday to promote his new movie, The Way Back. He said Brady responded with an emoji. Did we get the emoji? Like, do we know what emoji it was?
It was the hands.
It was the hands up guy.
He so wants to play this out.
Really not. I was gonna say
so non-committal.
Brady hasn't been single in a while, and after the divorce now, he is making sure he goes out and has his crazy stupid love.
It's more like a trial
moment.
Separation at this point. I don't think it's a final divorce.
It's Crazy Stupid Love.
That's
Tom Brady's
exactly
the plot
right.
of Crazy. He's Steve Carell in Crazy Stupid Love.
9?
Wow.
9 Boy, you sure showed me.
Golic and Wingo is presented by Progressive Insurance. Progressive Insurance drivers who switch and save pay an average of $796 less per year. Call or click today and find out if we could save you hundreds on your car insurance. That's what's trending.
All right, Golic and Wingo here with you. So what is going to happen here, right, with Tom Brady? Because I think he is enjoying the dating process as much as anybody can in this situation. And I thought Albert Breer put out a great tweet yesterday about what's going on here, because Albert Breer put this out there, which I thought was really, really good. On October 2nd, 1999, senior Tom Brady led number 4 Michigan to a 38-12 win over junior Drew Brees and number 11 Purdue in a battle of 4-0 teams. And we believe both of these guys are going to be playing again in the 2020 season. It's incredible that they played in 1999 in college, and it's 2020, and we expect both of them to be starting quarterbacks in the NFL.
It is proof of what money can do because both of them got better looking after college.
That's exactly right.
Like markedly.
Look,
you should not be in your 40s looking better than you were as a 20.
Teddy Bruschi's out there, man, at TB12 talking about pliability. You know, we survive, we run, and everything else. So we're all into it. So what is going to happen with what's going on with Tom Brady? Because a lot of people have their own opinions about a lot of different things, including our intrepid Florida man, NFL reporter Jeff Darlington, offered up his theories on where he thinks Tom Brady may end up.
I put the Titans and the Raiders right now as the front runners for Tom Brady's services. And as a result of that, that would leave Tannehill as the odd man out if Mike Vrabel does try to create a reunion with his friend Tom Brady in Tennessee. And look, Tennessee has to be considered one of the bright spots when you look at what Tom Brady is looking for in free agency, whether it is the team itself and what they possess personnel-wise, whether it is the ability to potentially collaborate with the head coach and have some say in both game planning and personnel. I quite frankly think the Tennessee Titans make a lot of sense for Tom Brady.
And that was, again, on the Adam Schefter podcast. Had a good show this week. So I guess that makes sense, but to me, I don't see Nashville as a landing spot for Tom because I think this is about a lot of different things.
You're much more in on the idea of this being a post-career move for Tom Brady than a true career move now, football-wise.
If he leaves New England, I believe this is going to be about setting – because Tom is not going to retire and, go fish, okay? That's not what he's going to do. He is going to very much have a very prominent public life in some way, shape, or form after his playing career is over. And to me, the brand TB12, and by the way, I love the town of Nashville. Don't read this the wrong way.
Yeah.
I just think for them, Tom and Giselle, I don't think they see that as a fit. Much in the same way when LeBron initially went to the Lakers, it wasn't just about basketball for the first time, right? It was about establishing the next thing for LeBron while playing basketball.
Yeah, it's tough for me because I look at that and I say, well, we always assumed that wherever LeBron went, championships were still a possibility. LeBron, would you say this? LeBron James at the time of his move, much better at his sport than Tom Brady is right now at the time of his move.
Yeah, we've had this discussion before. Obviously, his overall game is certainly still at a very high level, but Tom is still at a place where he can compete at a very high level at that position, just not be the best.
He can, but I think that's why
that's Patrick Mahomes.
It's so heads and tails at
Patrick
this point.
Mahomes, yeah.
I guess that's the difficulty now is we don't know what metric we're judging Tom Brady by, and because he's the biggest domino, because all the other guys that we want to talk about, Phillip Rivers, Teddy Bridgewater, Jameis Winston, Ryan Tannehill, all of them wait until Tom decides, and when we can't judge how Tom is going to make a decision, it makes it really tough for us to allot the rest of the spaces in this.
Yeah. By the way, coming up a little bit later on today, we're going to have my top 3-ish landing spots for Tom Brady. With the caveat here, the caveat is the presumption that he is leaving New England. So the idea, just so you know, when we do this a little bit later, I'll put this out there again, the whole idea is that he's leaving New England. What are the top 3-ish landing spots? We'll get to that. Plus, baseball is burning, and it might be a good thing.